Okay, so we're moving on to do a few exercises from chapter 6. The first one is about index notation. Now, you've come across this before in year 7 and in year 8. So we're just going to go over some of the basics again. So we've got 2 to the power of 5, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So this is called expanded form, whereas this is called index form. It's important to know the parts of the index form. So the 2, that's called the base. And the 5 is called the power or the index or an exponent. The plural of index is indices, which we'll come across further down. So 2 to the power of 5, this power is kind of like a count of how many 2's are multiplied together. So it's not 5 times 2, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, but there are 5 of them, so we count them up as being 5 of them. So in this term here 2 is not the base anymore here. 2 is a coefficient. 2 is right out the front, in front of the letter, and a number in front of a letter we've already learnt is called a coefficient. In this case, A is the base, because this 7, this index or power, which is 7, is on the A. So this index applies to the A. So if I was to write this in expanded form, we've got 2 times, and then A to the 7 is A times A times A times A. That's 4 of them, 5 of them, 6 of them, 7 of them. So that's expanded form for 2A to the power of 7. Okay, let's look at some examples. So we're going to start by writing these in expanded form. So 7 to the power of 5, that just means we've got 7 multiplied by itself 5 times. Remember, 5 is the count of how many times it's multiplied there. So 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. So AB to the power of 4 would be AB times AB times AB times AB in expanded form. Now that could also have the A's separated out from the B's. So you could say A times A times A times A times B times B times B times B. Both of those answers would be correct. 2 over 5 to the power of 3, same thing. We've got 2 over 5 times 2 over 5 times 2 over 5. 3p cubed q squared. We've got a 3 first, and then we've got p. There are 3 of those, so p times p times p. I'll put a multiplication sign in there too for expanded form. Multiplied by q times q. Q squared is q times q. Okay, you may also be asked to evaluate. So let's have a look at this. So 3 to the power of 4, that's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now, the way I like to think of that, I find if I pair them up, it's easiest. So 3 times 3 here, that's 9, and 3 times 3 here is another 9, so that's 9 times 9. 9 9s are 81. Okay, negative 2 cubed is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Now remember, 2 negatives will cancel each other out. So they cancel. We've still got 1 negative. So the answer is going to be negative. 2 times 2 times 2, well 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So negative 8. 3/5 squared, well we know that's 3/5 times 3/5. And we've learned fractions. We know that when you multiply fractions, you multiply the top and you multiply the bottom. So 3 times 3 is 9, 5 times 5 is 25. So 3 over 5 squared is 9 over 25. Now you may also be asked to express something as a product of its prime factors. So remember, product means multiplying together. Prime numbers, as opposed to composite numbers, and numbers that can only be divided by 1 in themselves. Factors are things something can be divided by. So if you're asked to do this, the easiest way is to start with a factor tree. So if you've got 36, think of 2 numbers that multiply to make 36. We don't want to use 1. 1 is not a prime number. So you could go 2 and 18. You could go 3 and 12. You could go 6 and 6. I think I'll go 6 and 6. That's a nice easy one. The reason why that one's so easy is because they're the same. So we need to keep going now. 2 things that multiply to make 6 would be 2 times 3. Now those are both prime numbers. We can't divide them any further So 2 and 3. 6 again is 2 and 3. So I always circle the primes. So to write 36 as a product, so multiplying the prime factors, these are the prime factors, we could say 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. We could also write that in index form. So 2 times 2 is 2 squared, multiplied by 3 times 3, which is 3 squared. So that's how we write it as a product of its prime factors.